The 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics. Although Korea was unable to finish in the top 10 medal standings for a third straight time, we had the pleasure of seeing a Korean freestyle skier compete in the men's mogul finals for the first time. Toby Dawson started coaching Korea's national freestyle ski team in 2011 and became the head coach in April 2012. When he was just 3 years old, Toby Dawson was lost in a marketplace in Busan. He was adopted by an American couple who happened to be ski instructors. He learned to ski when he was 4 and made the U.S. national team when he was 18. In 2006, he won the bronze medal in mogul skiing at the Torino Winter Olympics. That's when the world learned about his story. Toby Dawson shared his desire to find his birth parents with the media. In 25 years after they were separated, he reconnected with his biological father. His story caused a huge sensation and even inspired a movie based on the events. In July 2011, he played a pivotal role as a presenter at the general meeting of the International Olympic Committee in Durban, South Africa. His story of finding his identity through skiing and the Olympics moved the IOC members' hearts. Today, we meet Toby Dawson, who's passing on his know-how to Korea skiers for the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games. So Toby, it's great to have you on the show. It's been only a short 3-4 months since Sochi Olympics finished, but I bet people are still congratulating you on the success that you had. How is it?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's been so much fun, but we went right back to work after the Olympics. We didn't have much downtime. We went straight into World Cup competition again, and haven't had much time to actually reflect and think about the work we had done at the Sochi Olympics. We had a great event, and we have a new record for Korean skiing history, a top 12, which was a fantastic result. But we still have a long road to go to the 2018 Olympics if we want to try to pull a medal for in front of the Korean crowd.
Right. And time flies, really, doesn't it? It just seems like yesterday that we won the right to host the Games, but now it's already just 4 years on out. But so you went to the World Championships right after. Were the athletes and yourself, were you in the right frame of mind? And also physically, I imagine you must have been exhausted. How are you able to perform at so short a notice again?
It's really tough. For the athletes especially to get their mental aptitude up to be able to compete again. It's really grueling, you know. After the Olympic Games, you peak and you're pushing everything and putting all your blood, sweat, and tears into competing at the Olympics. And once you've finished that, it's hard to move on to the next step. Now that we've had a couple of days off, you know, and we're starting to look forward into the schedule and prepare for the summer schedule, now the athletes are starting to get their energy and things back, and so we can start really preparing for the next season. But it was a tough trudge to get those athletes up and ready to compete again.
So not to press too much, but how did you do? How was the results at the World Championships?
Oh, we kind of stumbled at the next World Cup right after the Olympics. It was tough. It was a great opportunity for the athletes, and it showed them a lot mentally what they have to keep working on. It's to compete at the highest level. It's not just training and skiing technically. You have to be mentally there and present to be able to ski at the highest level. And it showed them that they have to start tweaking the way they think about competition and the way they focus for a competition so that they can arise to that occasion on command, because that's basically what they'll have to do at the Olympic Games in 2018.
Right. And in that respect, I mean, the Sochi Games were almost kind of like a midterms, and you can say that the finals are the Pyeongchang Games, of course, because they will be having to perform in front of a home crowd. So what do you think, having seen the athletes at Sochi, what was the biggest lesson, or what was the biggest gain that they had from the Sochi Games?
I think that just being able to compete at the Olympic level is such a great experience for all the athletes. They need to kind of step into that window and realize everybody's watching them, and this is going to be similar to the pressure you're going to get for the Pyeongchang Olympics. However, in Pyeongchang, it's going to be twice as many people, twice as much media attention, and so they really got to start focusing in now. We're working hard. The GKL ski team has brought in some new coaches, and we're really going to start working on the mental aspect of skiing to be mentally fit and ready to compete for 2018, to push away the distractions of media and all the little questions and things that people are going to be asking them, and to be able to focus right on their competition run so that they'll be ready to perform at their highest level possible.
But I mean, the pressure kind of goes both ways, doesn't it? As we saw with some of the Russian athletes, the pressure can kind of break them down, but other times with a great crowd cheering you on, you can probably sometimes do better than your personal best. And also training on home ground, I imagine that's a big advantage as well? Yeah,
that's one of the biggest advantages we have, to be able to go and train that slope and make that slope feel very everyday and normal. The more we can train there, the more advantage we have over the other countries. And we're going to reduce the amount of training time that the other countries can come and ski on that same run, so that we can truly have the advantage when it comes to 2018 for our athletes. Are
you allowed to say that? Is that fair to all the other athletes around the world?
It's fair, because it's kind of the Olympic spirit for, you know, having it in your home country. You get that advantage of being able to practice and train where that event's going to be held. And since Korea and Pyeongchang is a little bit ahead of schedule and have some of the runs cut and are ready, that gives us a little bit of advantage to go out there and practice on the hill and tweak it around a little bit to make it the way we want it for the athletes.
Right. So we've seen a lot of potential already, and I imagine that you've got the next 4 years planned out already very meticulously. Is it going to be just a lot of training on all the time?
It's definitely, we definitely have to ramp up the training. Yeah. I talk to athletes a lot, and I say it's kind of a three-pronged game. You have to go out there and you have to be mentally really strong. Technically, you have to be really strong, but also you have to be physically really strong. And if you can match 2 to 3 of those things and be the best in the world at 2 or 3 of those things, you have a high chance of being able to go out there and compete at the level you want to.
So, I don't want to put you on the spot, but honestly, from now, I mean, 4 years on out, the Pyeongchang Games are 4 years later. Right now, how do you see your chances of a medal finish, a podium finish?
I don't think it's out of the question. I still have a strong belief that there is a chance that Korea can get a medal at the 2018 Winter Games in freestyle skiing or on the mountain somewhere. I believe that the athletes are starting to train hard, and they're really starting to learn what it's like to be an elite athlete. We haven't had that same kind of push or drive in the past. There's been good ski and snowboard athletes, but they weren't considered elite athletes. But now they're starting to change the way they look at sport, train harder every single day, and push their limits. And you can see it in the results already. They're starting to catch up with the rest of the world. So I believe definitely the roadmap that I've set out, they're ahead of schedule, and I think that we can go out there and get a medal in 2018.
Oh, great news. Okay. So, of course, a lot of people will remember you as one of the presenters for the Pyeongchang 2018 bidding campaign. And when you made that very moving and personal speech in front of the IOC members in Durban in 2011, you were almost an unexpected presenter because, of course, you were born in Korea as Kim Bong-seok, but you were adopted by American parents. And, my God, I still feel moved when I think about it, but it's already been 2 years, 2.5 years, but how did you feel when you were standing on that stage and you were representing your birth country? What was going through your head and your heart?
I'm already, like, right now I'm getting, like, tingles thinking back on, like, the hair on the back of my neck standing up. It was such an amazing experience to be able to come back to Korea, and it's like, a full round circle to bring me back and be connected with my home country, my birth country, and to be able to do something so special in South Africa and represent South Korea and my heritage, to go out there and win an Olympic Games, something that's so close to my heart. It was such a nice thing, but the best part of the whole experience were the people that I was able to present with and all the people that I met that helped support me while I was there. And a lot of them didn't even know who I was at the time. It was Toby Dawson, the skier, but hey, come on in, you're part of the team now, and let's go out there and give everything with all of our emotion in front and present this to the IOC. And let's go win this bid together, and that was the most exciting part.
Yeah, and of course, you were part of the team because of your unique story. I mean, you really represented New Horizons, which was the vision for Pyeongchang 2018. So when you first received the script, that Terrence Burns, of course, who had scripted it for us, when you saw it, what was your initial reaction? Did you think, wow, this guy gets me, or that's a little dramatic, but you know, what was your reaction?
Both ways, you know. It was a little bit dramatic, and he was like,
"My name is Kim Bong-seok."
It's just like I felt like he was overdoing it a little bit.
Yeah?
But the more I read it, I really didn't get the full concept of it at the moment when I received it on email. You know, I just saw it, read over it kind of quickly. But when I arrived into Durban and we started doing the actual dry runs and practicing it, and then he started setting up my voice and getting me prepared and showing me you need to have a dramatic pause here. Yes. You got to pull in the audience here. You got to look them in the eyes, and you know, this is your story. Use your heart and tell your story and share it with everybody. Then I started to get the full picture and how important and how it wasn't as dramatic as I once made it out to be, but it was just telling my story and how it really is.
Because, I mean, in the media, in Korean media, I think a lot of the attention was focused on Yoona Kim, who also delivered a great presentation. But I remember that many of the IOC members that I talked to personally, they said they were most moved by your speech because it really spoke to their hearts and why the IOC exists and the Olympic spirit itself, right? So what was your reaction when you talked to the IOC members and other people after that presentation?
It was such a cool feeling. It was so gratifying to be able to go out there and talk to the IOC members, and I had so many just like come up to me and want to like introduce themselves to me. They didn't know who I really was, but they were like, you know, that speech I'm going to remember for a long time. I remember Prince Albert came up to me and said, man, you should become a politician after hearing you do that speech. You got to do something with that kind of speaking skills. So it was quite funny. And, you know, I had a handful of people even come up and say, you know, I wasn't even sure which way to vote. But after hearing that, I definitely was swayed to go and vote for Korea Pyeongchang 2018.
Well, that IOC member, as well as many other members, including the then president of the IOC, Jacques Rogge, said that Toby Dawson's story touched them the most. And he has a very dramatic life story, and we're going to talk more about that right after this.
I don't even know why I was like concerned about it, because there was no doubt in my mind. Like he had the same facial hair, he had the same shape of face, and I was just like, wow, this is probably what I'm going to look like in another 30 years. So.
The Olympics are not over for Toby Dawson, and many are wondering if he can recreate the miracle that he achieved in Torino here in his birth country. Let's talk about that now, Toby. So I know that when you won your bronze medal in Torino, that must have been a dream come true, but then to be involved in another Olympics, this time in your birth country, that must be a whole different set of emotions and special meaning for you. And I know that we haven't actually, of course, held the Pyeongchang Games yet, but you were there when they announced that the Pyeongchang Games would be held indeed in Korea. So what did that moment feel like? I mean, I know how I felt and most of the people in that room, but what did it feel for you?
I mean, to be honest, it was electrifying to be right there with everybody, and so many people had worked so hard, and it was such a relief to be able to know that Pyeongchang was going to be holding the next Olympics. But at that time, I had no clue what that would have in store for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, I had no idea that I would become a ski team coach, a national coach for Korea, and work for the Korean Ski Association or anything. I was just kind of separated from that whole experience a little bit at the same time, because I had my life in the United States, and I didn't realize that it was going to connect me back to my home country, my birth country, so much after winning that bid.
So we talked about your reaction when you saw the script, and this was, of course, after that you decided to be a presenter for the Pyeongchang team. What about when they first approached you to become a presenter? What was going through your head then? Did you accept right away? Did you jump at the chance, or did you have some concerns?
I had to question it a little bit, because I wasn't sure exactly how I fit into it. You know what I mean? I feel like I grew up in the United States, so I have become so American. I was born in Korea, and I definitely have tried to chase my roots a little bit while I was growing up, but I was still very American at the time. And so when I saw the script and I was told that, hey, we would like you to present, I wasn't really sure how they were going to meld me into the middle of this whole presentation team. But like I said, once I got to Durban, I really found out, like, okay, this is how we're going to work it in. It was all very well planned and thought out by Terrence Burns and definitely other members of the Korean Olympic Committee. And there was definitely a plan that they were trying to go after, and I think that they succeeded. And I was happy to be a little part of all of that.
But in fact, the Korean public knew you from before Pyeongchang. They knew you, of course, after your bronze medal at the Torino Winter Games. And at that time, when you came into the spotlight of the Korean media, you said that you wanted to find your birth parents, your Korean parents. And you were successful in that search. You were able to locate them and reconnect. A lot of adoptees say that when they meet their birth parents, and many do try to find them, they don't even need a DNA test to find out if they're the actual birth parents or not, because once they look at their parents, they say, oh, okay, you have to be my parents. Yeah. There can be no other answer. Was it like for you too? Do you remember the moment when you met your dad or your mom?
Absolutely. I remember, well, first when I met my dad, I met my mom and my dad at separate times, but when I was meeting my father for the first time, I went into the meeting very skeptical, and I'm not sure if I'm skeptical all the time just because I'm trying to protect myself or what truly the reason is behind it, but I was very skeptical before I met him. But right when I walked into that room and saw him face to face, I was like, I don't even know why I was like concerned about it, because there was no doubt in my mind. Like, he had the same facial hair, he had the same shape of face, and I was just like, wow, this is probably what I'm going to look like in another 30 years. So I guess that was a little scary to think about too. But I knew, I didn't need a DNA test or anything after that. I knew for a fact that that was a very good chance my father. I was definitely related to him in some manner.
And since then, of course, you've had time to catch up, and you've connected many more times, right?
Yeah.
So that's an amazing story. But of course, like if you had stayed in Korea, as we mentioned in your presentation, you probably might not have been an Olympian skier, right? Because we just didn't have the infrastructure at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was quite fortunate, or fate, that brought you to Vail, Colorado, and your parents were ski instructors. And of course, your parents had a huge impact on your life. And I know that your mother in particular made sure that she can do whatever she could to ensure that you didn't feel so lonely being away from your birth country. And she even adopted a Korean brother. Is that right? To make you feel more at home, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my mom was always, she's told me that she always wanted to have a big family. Okay. And then when she found out that she was unable to have kids up on her own, she ended up trying to adopt. And I mean, I applaud her efforts, because she was turned down so many times to even trying to adopt children. And then she was getting older and older and older, which makes her less of a candidate to be able to adopt. But finally, she was successful into adopting me. And then a year later, she got the knock on the door saying that, hey, you're allowed, we're going to let you adopt another child. What you've been doing has been so successful, and we think that you're doing a good job. And so she was able to adopt another young boy from Korea. And that was kind of my guy to help me not feel so lonely and to kind of take shelter in the fact that we both don't look like our parents, and we're living in this small town that is very predominantly white. So it was a little awkward growing up not looking like anybody else.
I can imagine. So that was her plan from the beginning, to make sure you had a sibling from Korea as well, so that you would have some comfort in another adopted sibling.
Absolutely. And then she did a wonderful job with trying to connect us back with the agency that helped adopt us. And there was, other families in Colorado that had adopted Korean kids. So she would make sure that we would go to meetings and brunches and things like that to meet with the other families. And so we'd have a chance to meet some of the other Koreans that had been adopted as well. So we would feel that we weren't the only ones that were placed into this situation.
Right. But at the same time, I can imagine there must have been little maybe looks or lots of instances when you felt that you were different, and you can't help that, really. And I know that the one place that you truly felt at home and natural and accepted was when you were on the ski slopes. Because your parents were ski instructors, you were taken on the slopes quite early. What was the first time?
I was taken on really early. I came over from Korea when I was 3 years old, and my parents felt like that I wasn't quite big enough, and they wanted to, like, I was a little smaller than other children my age. So they decided to hold off for 1 year, but my dad would throw me in the back his backpack and still take me up on the mountain. And then I would just like scream in his ear and tell him to go faster and faster and faster.
Faster.
And then by the next year, they put me right on skis. And that first day, I didn't even want to stop for lunch. I started crying because my mom said, hey, it's time to go in. And I didn't realize that it meant just go have a snack and then come back out and ski. I thought we were going to be finished for the day. And so I think from then on, I had this appetite to go out there and just train and ski and be on the mountain as much as I could.
Wow. So age 4, that's when you went on and you loved it from the very beginning.
From the first moment on the snow, I think.
Your brother too?
Yes, but not quite to the
OCD
level that I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. So he's still an avid skier too.
He's still an avid skier. He enjoys skiing and he skis with his family and it's part of his life. But he always did it for the enjoyment of it, not for the competition side. Where I kind of started, I really loved skiing, but there was that competition aspect that really intrigued me. And so that combination of being able to ski and be able to compete and then try to push myself to the next level was something that was very interesting for me, and that's what kept me going and motivated me to become a better and better skier.
So how does one go from just simply loving skiing and being an avid skier? Because we have a lot of skiers and snowboarders in Korea, and yet when it comes to Olympian level, not so many. And like you said, you loved skiing from the very beginning, and then you had that competition streak inside you. So what happened? Was it you who wanted to become an Olympian and your parents supported you, or was it your parents saw the potential and put you in a ski school with Olympians? How did that work?
Well, my parents, they never pushed me in any direction. I wanted to play hockey, so I played hockey when I was growing up. I wanted to ski, and so I skied while I grew up. And at the age of 14, they finally said, we're so sick and tired of like driving to the city and then having to go here to let you play hockey and ski. You got to make a choice. And when I was 14, I was like, okay, I'm better at skiing and I'm a little small for hockey. I'm going to just focus on skiing. So they never pushed me in any direction. They just allowed me to kind of express myself and do whatever I want. But when I was about, I think, 8 years old, we were in school and I had to write, each student had to write an autobiography. And
at
what
8
I wrote,
years old.
yeah, and what I mean, it was horribly written, but what I wrote was, I'm going to be on the U.S. ski team when I'm older.
Wow.
And I think I knew it at a young age that that was my goal, and I just kind of stuck with it, and my stick-to-itiveness got me to the team when I turned 19 years old.
So how did you, was it your decision to apply for the ski team when you turned 18 or 19? You just applied, or did someone come and scout you, or how does that happen?
For the U.S. ski team, there's no scouting or anything. There's just the national competition. It's like the end of the year competition. And by doing well at that, you qualify for the early season team selection the next year. And so I went there and did decent at that. That qualified me for the team selection. I went out there and won both days of team selection and never looked back after that.
I wonder what your teammates must have thought when they saw you coming on. What was the first reaction among them? As you say, you're a little bit smaller. I want to be diplomatic. Most skiers are not that big, or the physical shape, when it comes to physical shape.
For mogul skiing, my size is about the average? Or best size for skiing. Because moguls is so dynamic and your legs are moving so much, the bigger you are, the more impact you have on like the joints and the knees. So some of the tall athletes, some of my friends that were tall athletes had a lot of knee surgeries and things like that. And I got through my whole career without having a knee surgery, I believe, because I was able to stay light, stay really fit, and I never got too heavy, unlike some of these taller athletes where they're putting more leverage onto their joints. So I think that's why I think Koreans could be so good at mogul skiing, because it doesn't demand you to be extremely tall or big. Ski racing, alpine racing, that demands you to be big so you can carry your mass down the hill. But for something like skiing, it's all about quick twitch muscles and be able to move dynamically and quickly. And the height is not an advantage at that point.
But of course, injury is always a big issue, isn't it? Moguls, just looking at it, it just looks treacherous, and the jumps as well, of the knees and the jumps. How big are the risks? Is it more dangerous than other ski events?
I would.
Can you say that?
I'm not sure if it's more dangerous, but it's definitely it is the dangerous sport. And we are kind of on a tightrope line where we have to push the athletes to do a lot of repetitions, but at the same time, if we overdo too many repetitions, we increase the risk of injury by double. So I have to closely monitor how much these athletes are training and make sure that they're getting the maximum benefit out of their training and not overdoing it so they don't risk too much injury. And I think that that's possible, but you always have that that possibility of something weird happening and a big injury happening. But if we try to really pace ourselves and make sure that we are being safe but trying to maximize potential at the same time, we can definitely get the athletes ready still.
Right. Knock on wood. No more injuries. Well, the Sochi Olympics proved that the Korean freestyle scheme have a lot of potential. And we met some of the athletes with their coach, Toby Dawson. Coach Dawson took his team to a trampoline fitness center in May before the summer training session began.
A little bit stronger with the set into the trick. This trampoline training is very important because jumps are only worth 25% of the score, but in reality, if the athlete is able to perform perfect high-level tricks, it's actually probably valued higher.
Pyeongchang, who hurt her ankle during the Sochi Olympics, finished her rehabilitation treatments and was able to join the team.
Since your ankle feels pretty good, I don't want to kill you, just go easy.
Now that he's a coach, Toby passes on the techniques and training methods he used as a skier to the team. He also has his own method for analyzing videos of the skier's performance. It's something he used to do with videos of himself, and now it's an essential part of the team's training. Sochi had a shaky jump and didn't do too well at the preliminaries for the Sochi Olympics, but she's ready to start with basic training again.
Find your balance. No tricks yet. Find your balance.
The hawk-eyed coach watches the team's every move. He's also happy to demonstrate the moves to help them understand what he means. So they're happy just to have Toby Dawson by their side. What's more, everyone on the team agrees that his methods work.
방금 직접 선수 생활하셨으니까 그런 훈련할 때라든지 아니면 시합할 때라든지 그런 본인의 경험이나 어떤 마음가짐을 가져야 하는지 그런 부분에 대해서 되게 세심하게 잘 가르쳐 주시는 게 가장 좋은 것 같아요. 굉장히 다른 방식으로 훈련을 해주셔서 되게 신선했던 것 같아요. 그리고 효과도 아무래도 운동을 막 힘들다라는 생각보다 굉장히 즐겁게 하니까 더 빨리 느는 것 같아요.
In every country, the very best athletes dream about victory at the Olympic Games. The mogul skiers and their coach, Toby Dawson, have dedicated themselves to the sport for years. We hope they have a chance to shine at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. Toby Dawson seems like a different person when he's in coach mode, and his training sessions are said to be notoriously intense. But it's just tough love. He has a lot of affection for his athletes, right, Toby?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But you have to train them when you have to train them, and you have to push them. So what is it that the Korean athletes were lacking the most? What do you focus on especially?
What I focus on a lot is just the daily things, for an athlete, for the difference between just a regular person and an elite athlete is all thinking. The regular person is just going to go out there and kind of do what they want to do throughout the day, whereas an elite athlete has to think about what they do now and how it's going to affect their future. So that means if they go to a fried chicken place, is that going to affect their future and not, hurt their performance even the next day? If they go to the gym, if how hard they're working out or if their form is proper, is that going to create injury or is that going to create more muscle mass for the next season? So I'm teaching the athletes how to think about what they do now, how greatly it affects what's going to happen in the future. So I'm trying to make these athletes become the elite athletes that I believe that they can be. And so I push them as hard as I can to get to that level so that when they get to 2018, I feel like they're ready to go and I can kind of let go of the reins and let them take control and go after their dreams then.
So it's not simply a matter of just putting in more hours at the gym or training. It's putting in the hours and not being lazy and pushing yourself physically hard as well, but also getting the mindset, being smart about it and thinking about how each move and how each practice session will affect your
Absolutely.
game.
I mean, when I first got these athletes, they basically, if I didn't tell them to do something, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
And that's, in my opinion, a huge problem. If you look at elite athletes across every country, they're motivated by something else. And they're thinking about something else. So that they know, like, well, I got an off day, but you know what? If I go out there and run and stretch for 3 hours, I'm going to have a better performance 3 days down the line. They go out and do it. Instead of some of my athletes would be like, I got an off day, I want to relax and eat fried chicken and go to McDonald's and then, be sluggish and slow 3 days later and not understand what was going on with their body. So if they can have that conscious effort of controlling what they're doing and thinking about how it's going to affect their future, that's when they become true elite athletes.
And imagine they listen to you more, or I don't know about more, but they pay more attention because you have the experience. You can back it up. You've done all the training and you've gone through it and you had amazing results. So as an Olympian, and I know that you also show the moves yourself to the athletes. It's been a while since you were an Olympian in Torino. So do you always have to keep yourself in as tip-top shape and form as well? Are you also training with them?
I go like this. While they're competing, I have to do a lot of standing, so I don't get a lot of the training time I would. But I try to get myself in shape in the summer, and when they're doing their workouts, I try to be there and do at least 70–80% of the workout with them. Okay. Just to show them, like, hey, if I'm able to do this, then you guys got to put in your effort too. And I think that helps motivate them. They don't want to be next to the old retired coach.
It's just all talk.
Yeah, that's all talk and then do worse than him. That motivates them like, okay, I'm the young athlete. I better kick his butt and look like, be in better shape and beat him every single time. And so we have that rivalry going, and I think that's very healthy. It's like that competitive spirit. We get that competitive spirit when we go train, and that can carry over to competition as well.
And you yourself admitted that you're very competitive. So have your athletes been able to beat you, or? I mean, I don't think you let them beat you.
I will never let my athletes beat me. But if they if they go out and beat me, then they've deserved it for sure. And I have been beaten here and there, but I'm what you would call a veteran, so I know all the little tricks too. So sometimes it's hard, even if they are stronger or something than me, I can still beat them in little ways.
Not by cheating, right?
Not by cheating, but just, I know the more efficient ways or techniques, and it makes it a little easier for me still.
Imagine one of the athletes who may have beaten you is Cheju, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Cheju, of course, is a rising star in the sport. And Sochi was his first Olympics, and a lot of people had expectations that maybe he couldn't finish in the top 10 or maybe even a podium. But he made it to the finals, and that was amazing, and they were calling that the Toby Dawson effect. Again, let's talk about him now, Cheju. What does he need to focus on to raise his game to the top level for Pyeongchang 2018?
Same thing. He needs to work on consistency.
Okay.
He'll go up and at the Olympics, 12th place, amazing result. Last season, 5th place, World Championships, absolutely amazing result. And then right after the Olympics, 4 competitions in a row, he doesn't even show up. He's there, and he's not getting the results like top 10, top 15, top 25. He's not in the mix of things. So when he starts to be able to control his mood, control his energy flow, and be able to produce high quality runs all the time, And that's what the key is in freestyle skiing. Because it's a judged event, the judges want to see day in and day out performances from the same athletes. And when you show consistency, you become a medal winner.
So how do you become consistent? Again, is it just a mental game?
It's a lot to do with mental, but probably a little bit with technical as well. We have to clean up some things technically, but mentally he has to be able to go out there and put down a run and not make major mistakes.
In an earlier interview, I think you stated that you were intrigued by his innate talent, Chejeu's innate talent. And he, of course, considers you his greatest mentor as well. And he actually trained or learned freestyle skiing first in Canada. And that talent, I guess that raw talent, was so evident that he was actually asked to become a Canadian citizen as well. Have you talked to him since then about that decision? I hope he doesn't regret that decision, or does he also see any differences between when he trained in Canada and now that he's training here?
It's definitely, that's a tough balance, you know, and to be a part of the Canadian national team may have not been the best solution for him too. It could have been something that there's a lot of talent with the Canadian skiers, but if you are right on the bubble, no one ever looks at you too. So it's a very tough situation, and I think that he's pretty happy about the decision that he made to come back to Korea. He has told me that I was his idol, and I got him interested in freestyle skiing at the very start. And for him to have a chance to come to Korea and start training and start doing real skiing programs and things like that, he was excited about that. And so coming back to Korea and starting to train full time, and then seeing some of these amazing results, getting the 5th place, getting a 3rd place at Junior World Championships, getting a 12th place at the Olympic Games, he's starting to understand, okay, now I have a chance, and I got a coach that's going to look after me and make sure that I'm going to push him to get to the level that he wants to. So I think that we're both okay with that situation, and I don't think he can necessarily look back with regret right now.
I can already tell by our conversation that you have so much affection for your athletes, and you're very passionate about getting the best results for Pyeongchang. So passionate here that even though that you got married last year, you put off going on your honeymoon because of training and because of your commitments to the national team. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And your wife is still here, obviously.
Yeah, my wife will probably, she's not impressed with all my decisions sometimes. I did come to Korea, and my wife and I, before we got married, we talked a lot about, you know, what's the good timing. We knew that we were in love and that we wanted to get married, but we talked a lot about my schedule, and like I didn't want anyone to think that I was not going out there and putting my effort in every day, and so I didn't want to have a wedding that people would look at and be like, oh, this guy is just playing around and having fun. I wanted people to be serious, and I think that was a lot of the decision why there was no time for a honeymoon. I definitely owe her one, and when things slow down, which I don't think
after 2018?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to slow down anytime soon, but at some point I'm going to have to take her on that amazing honeymoon that she deserves, and
she's
has to be patient.
very understanding.
Exactly.
She's very understanding, but I imagine part of that understanding comes because she knows what it's like to have to perform for your country, for the team. Of course, Kim Yeon-ji, your wife, was a part of the national taekwondo team. She was also part of the Pyeongchang bidding committee as well. So tell us a little bit about how you two met. Obviously through Pyeongchang, is that right?
Yeah, we met through Pyeongchang, and she had seen my presentation and things like that, but we actually ended up first time meeting eye to eye at Gangwon-do for the FIS conferences, and she came up and started talking, was very friendly.
So this was after Durban?
This was after Durban, and we talked and said, hey, maybe we should go out and meet for a drink later, and nothing really transpired from that, but we kind of kept in touch here and there, and after about a year and a half or so, we kept running into each other, and the love blossomed from there, I guess.
Because I have here that it was love at first sight for you.
Yeah, for me it was, but I didn't want to text her and tell her and be like, I didn't want her to know that right away, so I had to play kind of the the cool guy role and sit back and try to wait for her to text back or do something.
Really? I mean, I thought, they say, the Korean saying, love is for the courageous. You have to kind of put yourself out there. And Yeonji, I mean, I know her personally. She's a gorgeous girl, and lots of guys would be very interested in her. And yet, you kind of played it cool. Was that, I guess, maybe a tactic on your part? Because
tactic and timing.
Other guys kind of, go after her, so you're kind of, hey,
yeah.
If we see each other.
Everyone's kind of, if she's used to guys coming up and being like, oh, you're great looking and stuff. And I was like, well, if I stand any chance, I better separate myself from the crowd and do something a little bit different.
Very cool, Toby. Did she say that was what attracted her? I mean, to you?
She tells me all kinds of weird stuff.
Something just came over her.
She said that she liked the hair on my arms the first time.
The hair on your arms?
Yeah, she's like, I have not seen any Korean guys with that much hair before. And she's like, just rubbing it.
Interesting, Yeonji. Okay. Well, it seems like world-class skier and taekwondo players should have a lot in common, but they're actually very different people. What brought them together was Korea, Pyeongchang, and their love of sports. We'll be back with more about their happy union. Toby Dawson and his wife invited us into their home for lunch. For lunch, Kim Yeonji made her husband kimchi-jjigae and 떡갈비.
거의 매일매일 여기 한국에 있을 때는 한식 위주로 하고요, 요리를. 뭐 아침은 간단하게 토스트 빵을 먹긴 하지만 그래도 김치찌개, 된장찌개를 많이 먹게 해요, 제가.
Toby helped set the table, but he couldn't find the pot stand.
저희가 이사를 어저께 왔어요. 아, 여기 있다. 오빠 찾았어? 여기.
After all that, it's time for lunch. There's soup, entrees, and lots of side dishes, lovingly prepared by Toby's wife.
저도 요리 많이 해본 적이 없어서 항상 인터넷으로 찾아보고 레시피를 찾아보고 하는데 그래도 제가 만드는 거는 거의 다 먹는 것 같아요.
된장찌개 I'm starting to get to like more. I'd never liked it a lot, but it's becoming more habit for me because I've eaten it a lot now. And like kimchi-jjigae and those kind of things is really good. But my favorite foods are when she's making like, mostly meat food like bulgogi, kalbi at home. That's really nice.
He helps his wife, who is due soon, by washing the dishes and doing as much of the housework as he can.
Yeah, I'm always doing the dishes. I feel like since my wife has been pregnant, I've been doing a lot of things, but she's carrying another body, so she just gets very tired quickly. So I'm trying to help out as much as I can, and that makes her happy. And if she's happy, I'm happy.
The two first met at the 2012 meeting of the International Ski Federation in Korea. They quickly became more than friends, drawn to each other as Koreans and by their similarities.
좋아하는 동물이나 색깔이나 취미나 뭐 좋아하는 음식 그런 부분에서 너무 딱딱딱 떨어지니까 이게 우린 천생연분인가 그런 생각이 들었어요.
Suddenly, Toby proudly brings out a book. It's from the Korean language school he's recently started attending. He asks his wife for help with the homework.
한국어를 배운 후에, what is 후에?
Learned after.
카드 게임이나 아니면 받아쓰기나 뭐 오빠가 특히 오빠 해외에 있을 때 이제 공부가 안 되니까 제가 이메일로 영어로 간단한 문장을 쓰면은 그거를 답변을 이제 번역을 해줘요.
Toby is learning to adapt to life in Korea, from the food to the language and culture. But he's able to do it with his wife by his side.
It's been a learning experience to live in Korea. Definitely not knowing the language is a hindrance, and it gets done, and I think that I appreciate all that hard work that she helps with all that stuff, and then hopefully my Korean gets better and I will be able to help her out a little bit more in the future.
Toby was born in Korea but raised in the US. Kim Yeonji was born in Germany but raised in Korea. They're still getting used to a few things, but together, every day is full of happiness. I'm here with Toby Dawson, coach for the Korean national mogul ski team. Now, Toby, I know that you say you're still struggling with the Korean language, but it seems like your wife is an excellent coach in the language part. What about the other parts of Korean culture and just living in Korea? The food, the traditions, how have you adjusted so far?
I feel like I'm adjusting fairly quickly. Living in Korea, you kind of have to, and I don't want to sit around and feel bad about myself. I want to go in there, jump in head first, and try to experience everything I can. So I think that opens me up to being able to take on everything and learn everything as quickly as possible. I'm trying to learn the language as quick as I can. It has been a little bit of a struggle because we travel around so much. But like with my wife, she helps me out a lot when it comes to like different cultures and me not understanding why things have to work a certain way and stuff like that. But she's been very patient with me, and I feel like that I'm pretty comfortable living here, and I'm comfortable in my skin living in Korea. It's a place that I consider home right now, so it's definitely a place that I enjoy being at.
Right. So going back to your Pyeongchang presentation, I remember when you said, I'm Kim Bong-seok and I'm also Toby Dawson, right? Do you feel like you're almost half and half now?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely feeling a lot more Korean for sure. Before and during that Durban speech, I was 100% American.
Yeah.
But I have taken on my Korean roots so much that I know when I talk about Korea, I say we a lot now, and I probably would have never done that before that Durban presentation.
But you still go back to the States, and you still, of course, are very close to your mother and your parents.
Absolutely, and thank goodness for technology, but I do not go back to the States that much anymore.
Oh, okay.
I've been to the States once for World Cup competition, and then I went back once to receive an award from the United States Ski Hall of Fame. But those are the only two times I've been back to the States this year.
So it feels almost stranger when you do go back?
It feels really odd to be back in the States and then use American money again and things like that.
And having to tip and something.
Oh, that tipping is, I don't miss the tipping whatsoever.
Okay, well, talking to you really reminds me of the great times that we had preparing for the Pyeongchang presentation, but now talking to you makes me excited for the Pyeongchang 2018 Games. And we talked a little about our prospects for the mogul team. What are really your goals? What do you want to achieve for the Pyeongchang 2018, for your team, for you personally? What are your goals?
For me, my personal goals are to have, I would like to see 2 to 3 males qualify for that Pyeongchang Olympics. And then I would like to have 2 females at least qualify for that Pyeongchang Olympics, and that's just my light goals. You know, those are just the number game, and the more athletes that I can qualify in for both men and women, the higher chance we're going to have for the Olympic medal, because there's only 30 skiers for both male and female allowed to go to the Olympic Games. So if I can fill up 4 of those spots with the men and 4 of those spots for the women, that gets us that much closer to getting a medal. Right. I would like to see on the women's side probably 2 people in the top 12, and on the men's side I would love to see at least 1 in the top 6 for sure. And you know, I'm not going to over toot my horn and say we're definitely going to get a medal, but my end goal is to go out there and give it a chance and see if we can't get a medal.
And apart from the infrastructure, what would you like to see the public, how they react, or would you like to see greater support or more interest from the public? Would that help the athletes?
I think that it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It really is a double-edged sword, because you get these young athletes that will get a lot of media attention, and then it distracts them because they feel like, oh, okay, I'm really popular, I better be on Facebook more, and I gotta do this. I'm like, you guys aren't a star yet. You haven't been winning the World Cup. Come on, stop that. And on the other hand, like, I like the fact that there's so many people that are interested and want to follow the athletes and follow certain aspects of skiing, because that's going to help promote the sport. So it's a double-edged sword, and we have to kind of constantly monitor that and to make sure we keep the athletes grounded and make sure that they're out there to keep pushing themselves and not think about being a star. If they go out there and bust their butt and that their end goal wants to be some kind of big, huge star, if they put in all the work here and follow their goals and do well at the Pyeongchang Olympics, that star thing is going to be inevitable.
Right. Of course, there are going to be more Olympic Games after Pyeongchang, right? So it's always good to take a long-term view and aim for the long destination, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's kind of my final goal is to, I'm not sure if I will compete or will keep coaching. There's a possibility that I would keep coaching after the Pyeongchang Games, but my final goal for beyond Pyeongchang is to set up a mogul freestyle ski team in Korea that is looked at and rivals all the other countries and is stable and has good stability, that can go out there and possibly shoot for medals during the World Cup season, going into the next World Championships, and definitely set up for the next Olympics after Pyeongchang.
Right. Well, I know that you're really busy, so thank you for taking the time, and thanks also to Yeonji for letting you come here, of course. But we wish you the best of luck to you and your team, not only for Pyeongchang, but beyond as well. And do come and join us again on Heart to Heart. Okay?
I would like that. Thank you. I had a great time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Toby. And that was Toby Dawson, the coach for the Korean national mogul ski team. Thank you so much for watching, and you can watch this interview once again on our homepage, ariranTV.com. Until next time, take care.